Robert Kelly is a professor of political science and diplomacy at the Pusan National University, and he joins me now from Busan in South Korea. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Do you think China is trying to dominate the South China Sea?
Yes, to be blunt, I think so. I mean, China's behavior certainly suggests that, right? And it's wise for President Xi Jinping not to actually say that directly, right? We want to get along with you, but I think Chinese actions on the ground, on the water, if you will, really demonstrate that the Chinese, I think, have actually been quite clever about this, right? Rather than sending out the Navy and sort of planting the flag, the Chinese had sent out fishing boats and coast guards, as you saw. You know, they didn't shoot at the Filipinos in your report, right? They fired water cannons at them. I mean, this is actually quite clever. It's a kind of creeping strategy, but I think it's pretty clear that the Chinese, as your report noted, want to claim the aid is the air identification zone and want to claim a water traversal rights. That it's all their space. I think they've made that pretty clear, regardless of what their leaders actually say.
To what extent do you think the U.S. will intervene if China continues to hinder operations of other countries in the region?
I think the American response will be to go slow, in part because it would be difficult to justify a collision with a country as powerful as China. I mean, that would be something like a superpower conflict, right? If it really did spin out of control. It's hard to justify that to the American voter back home when you're talking about, first of all, someone else's territory, not American territory, and also when the stakes are, to be honest, relatively low, right? I mean, a lot of the islands in the South China Sea are small. The resources that your report mentioned are actually at quite far down. Actually, the sea is actually quite deep, and it's actually difficult to exploit. So it's not clear just how much China could actually sort of extract oil that control the entire space. And so I'm not really sure if President Biden could actually make the case to the United States that we should risk a major collision with China over some sandbars and some islands. And I think this is actually one of the things that China exploits, right? That nobody really wants to go to war over some rocks. And China is able to use that to sort of slowly creep into this space. And I think that's what's been going on for like 20 years now.
Right. And where do you think this recent back and forth conflict or dispute, if you'd rather describe it, between the Philippines and China will take their relationship to?
Yeah, the Filipinos are sort of in a weird spot, right? I mean, President Duterte actually reached out to China a while back and actually went to China and gave a big speech about how China and the Philippines should be working together. But a lot of the Filipino bureaucracy and the military are kind of pro-American because there's a long-standing relationship with us. And obviously, I mean, Filipinos are nationalistic like the rest of us and don't want to see territory that they claim as theirs being taken. And a lot of the territory that China has been snatching from the Philippines. I mean, if you look on a map, it's actually quite proximate. It's only like a couple hundred miles away from the Philippines, whereas it's like 1,000 or something from China. I mean, the claims are pretty capacious, and Philippines won at the World Court, as they'll tell you frequently, right? And so, I think China's risking something here, right? I mean, the more they start snatching these little islands and rocks, the more they're going to push away a country, the Philippines, that I think would actually like to have a sort of neutral relationship. With China. I don't think the Filipinos want to be pushed into the Americans' camp, but that's what the Chinese, I think, are doing.
All right, Robert Kelly, thank you so much for joining us here on TRT World on the NewsHour. It was a pleasure having you.